Welcome back to Movie Night
with Marcos and Paulina.
Happy to be here with you, Marcos.
Hey, what's up? We're going to be talking about The Little Things, which is the new HBO Max movie that came out very recently, I think this weekend.
Yeah, this past weekend on Friday, maybe.
Yeah.
With Denzel Washington and Rami Malek and Jared Leto.
Yeah, I know. It's a cool cast of characters.
Very cool cast.
And the movie is very suspenseful. I didn't really know much about the movie, to be honest. But
I knew nothing going in.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I knew that it was a suspenseful movie, but it still, shocked me, how tense I was watching it.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It's about a guy named Deke. He goes also by Joe. And he's got kind of a dark past, which we find out later in the movie.
It starts off that he's the deputy sheriff in kind of the small town who's sent to LA.
Yeah.
And then we discover that he actually used to be a cop in LA.
Yeah. And he's just kind of doing random busy work that it's obvious he doesn't really want to do this kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
But he hears about a case that has been unsolved about these missing girls that end up being dead, and they can't find any suspects.
It appears that it's a serial killer.
Exactly, which kind of piques his interest because it's found out later that he was in a similar case. And there's this other detective named Jimmy Baxter, which is played by Rami Malek. And he's kind of a younger detective, and he's taking
successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's got a family. He's taking the lead on the case, and
they've definitely made some comparisons throughout the movie that kind of make you think that he's kind of the new Deke. So the more you watch the movie, the more you realize that Joe Deacon, he was actually quite a successful cop, or a detective, actually.
Yeah.
And Rami Malek's a detective, yeah. So he was pretty successful, and his sudden kind of retirement from LA to that small town was very sudden. But they definitely make a lot of connections between Rami's character and Denzel Washington's character.
Yeah.
Kind of like he's following in his footsteps type of thing.
Yeah, and I like their dynamic as a duo. But you spend the movie with them trying to figure out who the serial killer is, and they pin it. So they're pretty sure it's Albert Sparma, which is a guy that he's kind of connected to the most recent murder because he works for a company that had repaired the murdered lady's refrigerator. Yeah. So something really random that only Deke would have recognized. But the movie kind of becomes this cat and mouse game of can they get this guy?
Yeah, and it's all about, because this suspect is just that. He is very suspect.
Yeah, but they have nothing.
It seems like he enjoys playing with the police, exactly like Marco said, kind of cat and mouse. But I think what was actually really cool about this movie was that it's not really what you expect. You expect it to be a murder mystery, right? That they'll discover the murderer and tying up the loose ends. But I think you start noticing maybe halfway through the movie that it's I even told Marcos, I said, I don't think I'm gonna like how this ends.
Yeah.
And I did like the ending, but I knew it was gonna leave me doubtful and leave me kind of unsatisfied. And yet at the same time satisfied, because it was really good. But it just doesn't give you the satisfaction that, a clean case kind of gives you. Okay, so we're going to enter into some spoilers so that we can really analyze the movie a little more.
Cool.
Give you some time to exit.
The movie ends basically unresolved. They don't really know with 100% certainty if they got the murderer.
Because what happens?
Because they kill Albert. Well, Jimmy Baxter, the younger detective, kills Albert. And it was
Albert kind of, he goads him into being physical or kind of losing it.
He definitely pushes his buttons just a little too far. And you feel bad for Jimmy Baxter because he obviously didn't mean to kill him.
Well,
he was just
Sparma
frustrated.
Is definitely, class A creep. There are several things, and in the movie we kind of rewinded. It's not a VCR, but we went back to look at the cars to see if we could, because Sparma dies before it's really confirmed that he was the murderer. Plus, the one thing that kind of Jimmy's character kind of said, he was our guy, but you can tell that he doesn't know if he fully believes it, right? He's trying to justify what he did to Deke, and Deke's the only one who knows that Jimmy, killed Sparma. And Malik had said earlier in the movie, he had said, did you find a red beret? Because the red beret belonged to a missing person, a missing girl. So Deke, what he ended up doing was he sent Jimmy a red beret. And this was to confirm to Jimmy that he got the right guy, that he kind of brought justice to this killer. But then later you see Deke, we the viewers see Deke burning evidence and burning these brand new berets that he just bought.
It's interesting that he just wants him to get some kind of closure. Deke wants him.
I think he does that because you then discover that Deke has the haunted past, that he accidentally,
killed a girl.
Shot at a potential witness to one of the initial murders. But that brings me to my kind of doubt that I'm like, I sort of wonder if we're supposed to suspect Deke a little bit.
That Deke is the murderer?
Yeah, that Deke is the murderer. Because, I don't know, something just kind of feels like, what if it's him? And that girl went missing when he came to town. Well, I guess he wasn't. Was he in town when the girl was murdered? The first girl?
I can't remember. I think that's part of like the reason why the movie can be kind of frustrating. You're not leaving the movie feeling resolved.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know if Sparma was the murderer. And in fact, I think the movie kind of wants you to think he wasn't.
Yeah, they want you to doubt it because, and trust us, if you go back and rewind to the first scene where you see kind of a chase happen, and then another scene where you see another girl like potentially get abducted. Mm-hmm. If you rewind back to those points, the cars do not match. No. Sparma's car, they also don't match
both
Deke's
of Sparma's cars.
Yeah, they're different vehicles, and the men also look different.
Yeah, like the man has a goatee at the beginning.
And glasses. Which Sparma doesn't.
Yeah.
They also say that Sparma confessed to a crime 8 years ago, a murder, knew all the details, and confessed, but wasn't even within 10 miles when the murder occurred. Yeah. So they call him this like crime junkie or something.
He's obsessed with crime and like has a police radio just to hear about all the crimes nearby. Yeah. It like gives him like just enough of a reason for us to doubt that Sparma isn't the guy.
Yeah, but you still hate Sparma.
Yeah. He's not exactly helping the investigation. He's kind of slowing it. He is slowing it down. Well,
he's not likable in the least. You can believe that this guy's a murderer.
Yeah. It's like the movie wants us to think it's him so bad, just like Jimmy Baxter wants.
And I think that's ultimately when you're thinking about the movie, you're kind of like, man, but it possibly wasn't Sparma. Yeah. And then they killed a guy. It's so weird, but I started comparing it to teaching.
What?
It's okay, follow me. So I was thinking about how the career itself of being a cop, of being a detective, you see it kind of taking over their lives. And there's this one cool scene that I thought it was cool when a landlady of a murder, where one of the murders occurred, she asked Deke, she was like, how do you get used to it? He's like, what? And she said, the smell. And he said, the lucky ones don't get used to it. Because you see him like he has no issue with it. I think he's even chewing gum or something or drinking a beer. When the landlady obviously like thinks it smells terrible in the murder site. So anyway, I was just thinking about how the job clearly really gets into their heads.
Yeah.
And I think there's this kind of, the reason I compared it to teaching, which I know is silly, it's way more intense here, is just when your career asks more of you than what it should, So like when it kind of starts, like for example in teaching, you're often, when teachers leave on time or arrive on time, they always have an excuse. They're like, oh, I have to pick up my daughter from practice, or I got to get going, I have an appointment. When it's like, it's okay to leave on time. That is normal. That is a normal thing to do. Totally different, way way less severe. But
Yeah.
that is what was going on in my head, and I think I had another connection to it too, but that's okay, I forgot.
I can easily see how, if I was in this case, I would be so frustrated that there's this guy that's slowing down your investigation.
Yeah.
He's
when
taunting
it's literally
you.
life and death. Jimmy
Baxter.
Jimmy Baxter had that cool line too when he said, if I'm tailing him, he's not hurting anyone. No one's dying when I'm tailing him.
Yeah, he takes his job serious.
Yeah. When that literally means he's not going home and he can't, like, you see him falling asleep in the car. Like, he hasn't slept.
Yeah. Well, something I really liked about the movies, when I really like it when I dislike the antagonist, which Sparma is technically the antagonist, right? And he's so dislikable.
Yeah.
There's the scene where Jimmy Baxter's digging up those holes and Sparma's just saying, like, you shouldn't have shown your whole family in the TV. Now I see what your daughters look like.
Yeah.
You have 2 beautiful daughters. Like, such a dirtbag, you know?
Yeah.
But you can easily also see this guy's just doesn't know how to socialize. He's having a fun time, like
just a weirdo.
Yeah, just poking fun at 2 detectives wasting, like,
just trying to waste their time.
Exactly.
You know?
And he knows that he's clean, or we don't know if he's innocent or not, but he is so confident that they're not gonna get him on anything.
Yeah, he calls the police to go to his house. Yeah. Like he is very confident that they're not going to find any kind of evidence. So when you're looking back at the movie, as you're watching it, you think, oh my gosh, he thinks he's that good. He's going to get away with murders. Yeah. And then at the end, you're like, wow, what if he's not even the murderer, and that's why he was that confident.
I know. So I really like, even though it's frustrating that things don't get resolved, I really liked the villain. Or I really like Sparma.
I mean, okay, the acting was incredible through the entire movie. Okay. I thought there wasn't a single. I thought it was so good.
It was hard to hear anything, to be honest.
Okay, Marcos had a lot of complaints about Malik. Malik was hard to understand at the beginning, but then I heard fine. Well, we also had the subtitles. I just always read subtitles.
I don't even know if I could understand this in theaters. And you know,
that's true. In theaters, I think I would have been really annoyed. They mumble a lot.
Yeah, and Deke, Denzel's character, also
he does, and he has like an accent.
Yeah, so it was hard to understand both of them, but I do think that they did a good job acting.
Yeah, and Jared Leto was so good. I didn't even realize it was Jared Leto.
Yeah.
He's so disgusting in the movie, and his hair is all greasy. Like, they did such a good job of making him so unlikable.
I think he did great.
But I think that was also, like, I don't know. I really do think they were, the director, because I think he wrote it too, right? The director?
Directed by John Lee Hancock, written by John Lee Hancock.
Yeah, so the director wrote this movie, and it did, no matter how much you hate the antagonist, you are left with kind of a miscarriage of justice, right?
Absolutely.
And at how, like, when Deke accidentally murdered a potential witness, it was, a lot of people knew about it.
And
to cover it up for him. He got away with it. Throughout the movie, he says, it's the little things that give you away. It's the little things. And so it's just kind of crazy imagining that this is possibly I'm sure it's happened, you know, where cops can cover something up.
Right.
And I think that's especially disturbing.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even know how I'm supposed to feel about the ending.
Exactly, because it's like they're still the good guys, but you're also like, no.
Exactly.
Not okay.
Like Jimmy Baxter, he's got a family, he's got a wife.
Yeah, you don't want his life to get ruined.
He tries to do things by the books for the most part. Like, it seems like he just wants to do a great job, you know? Any of us, all of us want to do a great job, usually.
Until he gets in the car with the potential killer. Yeah. But you see him slowly losing it, right? He gets so in the car with the potential killer after he says, when he's with me, nobody dies. So that's exactly, you see them taking their job so, you know, like, beyond the boundaries, right? So he gets into the car with Sparma, goes down to the field where Sparma gets him to dig multiple holes, saying that, oh, I think I have someone buried here. Oh, wait, you know what? It's over here. So just like the mind game.
Yeah, that's so true. just crazy that you don't know how to feel about, your main character.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Because you do feel like, okay, it wasn't just Sparma that got in his head. It was literally his job. It was his own expectations, his own desire to catch the killer.
You don't think Deke got into his head?
No, Deke too, but Deke is the same example of like being so committed that it messes with your
I think Deke might have like raised the bar so much that everything was relative now. Like,
right, exactly.
The extremes weren't so extreme anymore because he saw someone else do it,
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but I think a lot of times, like you were saying in jobs, like you see another teacher maybe like performing way more than they need to, you suddenly feel like you need to keep up.
Yeah, it's just this social expectation.
Yeah, I agree.
That changes your behavior.
So what do you think, would the happy ending, let's say we could revise the ending, would the happy ending be that Rami Malek's character goes to jail? Like,
no, for me, which actually I think it was perfect the way it was.
Yeah.
But for me, the happy ending would have been that he did find the red beret in Sparma's apartment, confirming that he was the killer.
Yeah, I was so upset when we found out it wasn't the real
I
one.
I knew that he just sent him.
I was hoping it
one.
wasn't. Yeah, that's true. I wish the movie just played like 5 minutes longer, because if it did, then we would have found out if the murders were still happening.
Right.
That would have just confirmed everything.
I mean, but that's
not the point of the movie.
Yeah,
of course.
but no, you're right. That would have been your preferred like conclusion.
Yeah.
Or
I just need to know, was he the guy,
Yeah.
So that's really frustrating. But yeah, very suspenseful, great thriller. It leaves you like thinking of a lot. I was the one that was like, oh, did their cars like, it makes you think a lot about like, oh, it couldn't have been him because this doesn't matter. Or maybe it could have been him.
Yeah, you become the investigator
exactly,
a little bit,
yeah.
But there aren't enough clues to actually solve it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think about it, if this like were a real, I don't even know if it's based on a real story, but
I doubt it.
If it was, I don't think that they would have enough to get him to go to jail at all. Or, they could arrest him maybe and put him in trial, but...
Oh, for Sparma?
Yeah.
No, yeah, he just had a box of like newspaper clippings.
Yeah, which
basically.
Is... Everything was incidental, like...
Yeah.
That could be argued away so easily, like, oh, he's a weirdo.
And that's another thing that they did. And they showed Jimmy's frustration with the amount of evidence that you need to get a verdict, which, again... not a bad thing, right?
Yeah, but you want it to be hard.
Yeah, you want it to be without a doubt.
Yes.
This is the person,
yeah,
right?
That's what I mean.
But obviously, you just see that tension and frustration with the limitations. Like you putting in your all and then getting all of these obstacles. And that's what that frustration, that's what I was relating to my job.
Yeah.
Teaching,
the world
just
like
pushes
back on you.
Pushing back on you, like, oh hey, these are your expectations, meet them. Oh wait, but before, as you're doing that, or after you've put in all that work, now I'm gonna like show you all these obstacles that you actually haven't leaped over yet.
Yeah. And I'm sure this happens with teachers a lot. You also get like time limits.
Yeah, exactly.
They were given a time limit of 2 days before the FBI does the investigation.
Right.
Which on the surface doesn't sound like a bad idea. People helping you on investigation sounds great.
Yeah, it was a really big deal to
But
them.
at that point, it's like a pride thing.
Right.
Like, I know I'm right. I don't need another person to tell me that I'm right.
Well, and I've seen that in other shows too, that sometimes there's just this like animosity between local police and FBI. And when FBI did come, they were like, we're on square one on this case.
Yeah. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of South Park recently, and there's this joke where there's detectives trying to find out a crime, and then suddenly FBI joins, and they're like, hey, get me this guy, get me that guy. And the detective's like, hey, this is my case. Not anymore, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
So that must come from something.
Yeah, I know.
It must actually happen like that.
I know. Detectives are actually upset that all the cool cases go to the FBI. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the FBI comes ultimately when they fail, right?
So, right, exactly. Or when it's that serious.
So honestly, very good movie. As you can tell, you could discuss it for sure. So if you want to do like a date night movie that you can actually talk about during dinner, this is a good one.
Do you think there were any things that would like turn someone off from the movie?
I think what we already said of maybe not having the satisfaction. You mentioned the audio. The audio is a little difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I thought it was solid.
I thought that sometimes it felt like the characters kind of leaned into the tropes of watching like a detective show. You know, like they talked kind of like, oh, I don't believe humans actually talk like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you said that during the movie, but I remember not feeling that way when you said it.
Really? Okay.
But I'm sure there was something there if you saw that. One thing that I didn't like was that at first you kind of see an animosity between Deke and Jimmy, but then it just kind of goes away. Kind of suddenly. I guess they kind of bond over the case, but...
Yeah, I also didn't believe their friendship that much. That's true. But it's like such a minor thing that...
Yeah. It wasn't so much a friendship as like a mentor type relationship.
That's true. Otherwise, yeah, there wasn't that much to criticize, except that you're right. I left somewhat upset with the ending.
Yeah. There were a lot of kind of cool references, or I don't know if it would be tropes, not tropes, like a lot of cool imagery and repeated kind of quotes that I think you could really spend a lot of time analyzing. So, for example, one is that Deke says, "No angels." And I think it's because he views one of his last cases in which he accidentally shot the witness. He sees them, right? And then he writes a note to Jimmy at the end and says, "No angels," when he sends him the bread. So there's that kind of like all these unsolved cases hang around them as if they follow them like angels. So maybe like, hey, it's solved. So no angels for you. We solved the case.
Yeah, he really wants him to not get consumed in it.
Yeah,
like,
he doesn't want him to be haunted the same way that he is.
That Deke is haunted, right?
Yeah. Another one is when he on his drive in and out of LA a few times, you see him glance up at a white cross. And he makes a reference that he never gained a promotion, or he kind of jokes that he's not the right religion.
He went to the wrong church.
Yeah, he went to the wrong church, and that's why he never got a promotion. Yeah. And I'm just so, like, I really do think that there might be something there. And for a while, I suspected that Deke was actually a murderer and he didn't accidentally kill the witness, but purposely did. But ultimately, I don't believe that. But that was one of my suspicions. And I just kind of think it's an odd thing for him to say.
Yeah. And that's what I mean of like, no human talks this way.
Well, he's an odd guy.
Yeah,
they say that he's odd. And they say that he talks weird, kind of. So, and it was almost like, to me, he was saying like, I don't play the game. He doesn't play the politicking game.
And I know a few people at work that like to think they don't play the game, and
yeah, exactly. Yeah. For promotions and like in some fields especially,
you gotta kiss butt.
You gotta play the game.
Yeah,
you gotta go to the church. You gotta play by their rules.
Right. You have to be a yes man.
Yes. So I kind of wonder if that's what he alluded to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know, but there were quite a few things like that in the movie that you could... even there's a lot of looking out of windows as well.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Coloring. So much you can analyze.
Yeah, and it's very clear the director really put a lot of thought into...
He really did.
...his shots and color. And like
there are some beautiful shots. And Deke like stays in like a dark motel. The lighting seems very purposeful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's making me want to rewatch it again. Yeah, to be honest,
it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's definitely a good movie. So, what do you think you want to give it?
I would give it. Man, I feel like I only give good grades.
I know. I'm sorry. This movie's gonna have to get an F. I never give an F.
I mean, I have to give it an A+ because
I was joking. I was leaning towards a B though.
Yeah.
Because if I had to think, how many times do I want to rewatch this movie? Not that many times.
Well, I don't really want to rewatch it.
But you think it's
I could rewatch it again, but I think it was a very thoughtful, very different. Well, maybe not very different, but I thought it was thoughtful, unique, and very well executed.
I agree.
I think they did exactly what they wanted to do.
Yeah. You're right. I still want to give it a B just because, you know.
Just because.
Just because.
I think I usually give A's and you give B's.
Yeah. Well, I want to give more C's. I want to be more of an aggressive grader.
Really?
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll practice. But yeah, I still really liked it. I would rewatch this by myself, or it was fun to watch with you. One of the things I wanted to say was we were having internet issues.
Oh, so annoying.
And all the suspense kind of goes away when you see those 3 little dots that say it's loading. And then you have to check your internet connection, redo everything. So I would have loved to see this in theaters, but then you get no subtitles. So, you know, pick your poison. But still, I thought it was a great movie. So that was our review of The Little Things. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We'll be on Google soon, Google Podcasts. And we're also on YouTube. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you guys think or if you think we should review another movie. But thanks for checking us out.
Yep. See ya.